Hello and welcome to another episode of Policy in Wonderland. I'm your host, Avi Amira. And as you already know, in Policy in Wonderland, just like Alice, we are going to explore and see the wonderful world of insurance, InsurTech, and everything that's connected to this amazing ecosystem. So in Policy in Wonderland, you will meet startups from all over the world, key figures, brokers, and more. So, by the way, before we jump in, remember to like, subscribe, and share this episode. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on all things InsurTech and connect with others who share your passion for innovation in insurance. So, without further ado, we travel today to Boston, and I want to invite my guest to join me as we go down the rabbit hole. Please welcome Rob Secontine. Yeah?
Secontine.
Second. Nah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, Rob. Great to see you again. We met at the ITC last October, October 24. Thank you for joining me here today.
It's a pleasure, Avi.
Thank you. So before we jump into what is EmTech, EmTech Group, let's talk about a bit about ITC, the last ITC.
Wow. It was terrific. This was only our second ITC. Interesting in that it changed from end of October into November into middle of October. And I think this really was a big difference maker. Unfortunately, it was also further away from the F1 race, but that's beside the point. I found it to be exciting, exhilarating. There was so many people there, and the nice pace about the meeting was also something interesting to me, as I've been into hundreds of conferences around the world in different industries, but this one in particular, the collegial nature of the participants, I thought was really admirable. People were actually very willing to talk and speak about their concerns, the projects they're facing. In other industries, it's not the same. So hats off to the folks in the insurance industry because I really felt that it was easy to navigate and people were very collegial in nature.
What kind of, what it was, is there a topic or presentation at ITC that left a strong impression?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, we really started to see the fact that folks have, in many cases in the insurance and the carrier side, have really gone through or are finishing the digital transformation that they've been on,
Hmm.
for so many years. Yet I was surprised to find that there still are many carriers, big and small, that are really just starting the digital transformation, process. We came across, like I say, carriers larger and small that were actually more closer to the beginning of the digital transformation phase than at the end, which was a bit of a surprise. What that does tell you is that people are strategically looking at the way they interface with their customers and their agents, right? And it gives you an understanding that the industry is strong and it's very willing to make the types of changes that are required in order to meet the challenges
Hmm.
that consumers today have, as well as agents, of course.
What kind of concern you mentioned you heard about a lot about concern that the market have? What kind of concern you hear?
Well, top of mind for us, and we'll get into it in a little bit about,
Yeah.
what EmTech is all about and the problems that we try to solve. But as it relates to the digital side of the game, if you will, we're really seeing people gravitating to trying to understand the challenges that come from, I'll call them day two issues. I mean, these things are critical. When you work so hard to create a product and you finally take it through the development process and you get through your QA and you go GA and poof, you're getting the phone calls.
You take me to the problem right now.
Hmm.
Yeah. So keep it in mind. Okay. But
Okay.
before that, I want the audience will hear a bit about who is Rob, what is your background, what
Oh,
you're
sure.
doing at EmTech, and let's dive.
Sure, Evie, no problem. Thanks for directing the discussion. I'm so first of all, EmTech is we still consider ourselves a startup. We've been around for about 2 years now, and we're actually a spin-off from a large professional services organization that was focused on QA.
Hmm.
QA in general, not necessarily the insurance industry specifically, as they served many, many markets. They were acquired about 2 years ago, and the technology portion of that company was spun off, and as such, EmTech Group was created. All of the technology folks, the developers that created this product that we'll talk about in a minute, came from there, and that's where we've developed the company. My origin with the company is from essentially the beginning. A colleague of mine that I've known for many years was asked to take the technology arm and create a software development company that was purely focused, for the time being anyway, on the insurance market. That's because the product was originally co-developed with a large life and annuity carrier that's based right here in the Northeast of the United States. And so the product that we have is purpose-built for the insurance industry and in particular for the problems that we'll talk about that we aim to solve.
And you are the VP sales there, right?
I am the VP sales, and we have a small sales organization at this point, growing every day. And most of the company is still, I say 85% of the company is still developers and engineers.
So before EmTech, you didn't had any close to insurance.
That's correct. I've been in a lot of different industries throughout my career: high performance computing,
Hmm.
television, broadcasting, also graphic arts. So I've been with a number of actually Israeli companies in my past, and always got great technology coming from Israel.
Thank you. Thanks. So let's get focused on about EmTech. What is the core challenge or issue in the insurance industry that EmTech Group is focused on addressing?
Well, there's a number, but we try to focus on a few specifically. And the biggest one is, well, there's two, and I'll say that they are equally positioned. They are respectively time to market. The carriers themselves face a real challenge from the business of trying to bring products to market much faster because of the needs of the business as they transform and do the digital transformation. Shortly spoken, their customers and the agents are asking for more applications, better applications, and much faster. The problem, therefore, also comes when IT organizations and developing or the development parts of the organizations that bring these products to market try to go so fast that you deliver a product that has not had the opportunity to have the extensiveness of quality assurance testing before it's released. For many companies, it's simply just a matter of too much cost, too much time, etc. For others that have the energy and the time and the budget, it simply becomes more of a factor of, oh, but I need it today instead of 4 months from now, 5 months from now. And so those are the two problems that our solution really focuses on: doing much faster time to market or providing much faster time to market for carriers, and doing so with the absolute fewest material defects, which lead to those embarrassing day two issues that really are brand killers and that frustrate not only the carriers themselves, but of course, the agents as well as the consumers that have to deal with them.
Can you give me an example of how you're doing that? Like, if I'm right now in a carrier, by the way, before we keep going, you only operate in the States?
No, we're a global company, but I would
Okay,
say we primarily focus on North America at the moment. But yeah, we're doing
okay.
business globally.
So,
So.
for example, I'm a carrier right now, and I approach to Rob, and and then what? Take me through there.
Okay, no problem. So, like I say, most of the carriers that we speak to, and by the way, it's not just limited to carriers. We're actually
Hmm.
finding, maybe by accident, when we went to the market, that InsurTechs themselves that are delivering software to the carriers also, face these same kinds of issues. But I'll phrase the answer mostly around carriers. And so, what normally is the issue is that carriers are faced with either large, sometimes offshore QA benches, let's call them. And they take many months to bring a product to market. And most of the time, it's because the QA cycle is normally pushed to the right or closer to the end of the product development phase. And that's where you start to get the pressure for time for release. Oh, I promised I'm going to get this product to market on X date, so on and so on. And then the product is released, and poof, you've got the problems that you didn't anticipate, largely because you're not doing the amount of testing or the completeness of testing that is essentially, in some cases, not even possible today without EmTech's solution. That's going to be the game changer, which I'll get to in a minute. So we hear from people that are saying, "Wow, we get the product to the end, and boom, we have problems." And the agents are calling, and the consumers are calling, and everybody's calling. Or worse than that, the agents who are representing their customer simply go to the next carrier. If the product is not working,
Yeah,
they need a
yeah.
quote. They need something for their customer. So
They are
they don't
not
have
going to
time.
wait you to solve the problem.
Correct. So they go to the next. And that's lost opportunity. And you've just spent all this money delivering product to market, and bam, you have these day two issues that really end up costing you customers and obviously revenue. So we're going to focus on solving that problem, the two-headed monster of getting product to market quickly, but doing so with the absolute fewest material defects.
What are the key products and services you offer to your customer, to your clients right now?
Well,
Or for example,
in
what line of business you are focusing?
So okay, so we'll focus, and this is what's interesting about our product and makes it unique. We are speaking to many levels of the organization because what our product allows you to do, and it's called QMT, and it
Hmm.
allows you to shift left in the development process, allowing you to identify problems and defects much earlier in the development cycle, where they're easier to fix, less expensive to fix, and they don't multiply as you go through your development process. You know the scenario. You have a problem, and if you don't fix it, the roots go deeper and they
Okay.
start affecting other parts of the product. And even worse, they also start to affect at the end other products in your policy lifecycle.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say, for example, you're starting off with, an e-app, for example. What about all of the other things that you get into with new business underwriting, then policy admin, et cetera, all the way through the product lifecycle? These can be critical because if the e-app isn't right, the rest of the whole product lifecycle is going to be affected.
What is the QMT is acronym, right?
Yes.
And it's for what is it represent? Do you
Oh,
remember?
what does QMT stand for?
Yeah.
That's a carefully guarded trade secret,
Oh,
Evie.
okay. Sorry.
No, I'm just
Nice,
kidding.
nice
I'm just
getaway.
kidding.
Nice
I'm just
getaway.
kidding. Yeah, quality management technology, if you will.
Um, okay, so I want to double down on the QMT. There is
Yeah.
QMT True XML as I research on the your websites, right? Um, why do I need to use QMT True XML for data in insurance, in insurance workflows? What I want you to, you know what? I will rephrase it other way. Why I need someone from the outside to explain for me, for the carrier, how to do my work or extend or maybe to get my product manager or my project manager depends, and then he will do the job from A to Z. And probably I don't know, by the way, if he will do it 100% right, but why do I need EmTech?
Great question, Evie. So, and you talk about one of the second products actually that we've brought to market behind QMT, which is you referred to as QMT True XML. So one of the things that we also began to notice is that I was talking a moment ago about the product lifecycle and going from EAP through NBUW into policy admin, so on and so on and so on, claims, etc. Well, you need to be able to move the data between those applications. And you need to make sure that what NBUW, for example, is getting is accurate. And in some cases, you're using XML. In other cases, you might use different technologies, but you have to make sure that the validity of the data and the accuracy of the data is correct once it's leaving one application and going to the next. And so we heard from our customers that this was essential and a very difficult thing to test and understand. So we created last summer QMT True XML. And by the way, the same thing is the case with PDF documentation.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, you have to send an agent or customer a PDF document, right? So that also needs to be tested for accuracy, positioning, completeness, correctness. And so in a month or so, we are going to release our next product, which is called QMT True PDF, and then so on and so on. We're also looking at API validation as well, JSON, and even others. And so it becomes a real product family because obviously we understand that the insurance policy lifecycle is very complex and it is filled with many different applications, often that are either self-developed or are purchased from third-party software vendors. And most times they are a different company or self-developed from one product to the next within the policy lifecycle itself. And so there is all this intercommunication and data transfer that also needs to be tested and validated. And how do you do it? Well, that's where QMT comes to play.
You know what? What is interesting for me is the way you develop. And you mentioned that you're just for there are like 2 years ago you started the insurance path. And what was the main challenge back then, and what are the main challenge that you see today, especially when you interact with carriers?
Yeah,
If
that's
there
a
is,
really
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, that's okay, Abby. That's a really good question. I'll take a second and go into the history of how the product was developed in the first place.
Great.
Remember that the product was developed while the company was still part of this large QA professional services organization. And they had a large carrier customer that was, to be fair, getting a bit frustrated by the length of time that they were taking as QA PF, professional services organization,
Mhm.
the length of time it was taking. The billing costs were going up. The time was taking too long. And so they actually told this carrier, this professional services company, look, if you don't do something, we're going to have to change. We're going to have to find somebody else. And so that's how the product sort of came to be. There were technologists within that company that worked with that carrier to develop, let's call it efficiencies, automation. And that's the key word that our product delivers is automation.
Mhm.
And so the software was jointly developed with this carrier in that they gave us this is what it should do. This is what's hard. This is where you're taking too much time, blah, blah, blah. And we created this software to answer that question. And what it did was produce an incredible automation solution that dramatically reduced the time to market. An example, before the product was developed, it was taking approximately 2,500 FTE hours just for QA to take a product to market for this carrier. Once the product was designed and developed and put in place at the carrier, that was reduced to 30 hours of automated testing that the software was able to develop. So you can imagine the efficiencies and the cost savings that were achieved by the carrier in question. And so that gives you a little bit of the behind the scenes, why did this product come to be? Nobody sits around and says, "Oh, I need a new QA solution today," when they wake up in the morning. But what they do address are these complex issues of time to market and defects, and how to make sure that the product is seamless. The other thing that's critical to carriers is things change, applications change,
Mhm.
policies change. You may need to add policies. You have a 10-year, maybe you go need a 15, 20-year term, things of that nature. It's difficult to go back to the beginning every time and set up a QA structure for a new product. What QMT brings to the table is we have a policy that we refer to that says build once, use many. Because our software solution is developed on a shift left policy, as I mentioned before. It's a very easy and intuitive low code solution that also democratizes the QA process. In that, business analysts, product development folks, other people in the organization that are involved in developing a new product or creating a change can be used as QA professionals, which frees up the QA people to really focus on the major problems that come up and how to diagnose and figure them out. So we create what we refer to as, Evie, is a knowledge graph model-based approach to the business logic, and it's easily done on a desktop canvas. And as like I said, one of our customers said to me, "Man, you guys have democratized QA because you opened the door to allowing so many more people in my organization to participate in the QA process," meaning that we start the QA process literally at the inception of product development. I recently had a prospect ask me, "Well, Rob, when's a good time to bring in my product?" And my answer was, as soon as you're bringing, and this in fact was a customer that was just beginning their digital transformation phase, in that they were bringing in their very first digital solution. And I said, exactly when you bring in that solution and begin to use it. So the moment that you begin to develop an application is when QMT fits. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think 100%. What's interesting to me is what is more difficult or each easier? It's the life insurance sector or it's the non-life to implementation your product.
Well, it really doesn't matter. I mean,
Okay.
we started off with life and annuity, but obviously, other parts of the insurance space are certainly applicable. And to be fair, not just insurance. I mean, and the management side of this organization, we've thought very carefully about how this could be applicable outside the insurance space as well. But for the time being, because we're a startup, we're really focusing on our stick to our knitting, as they say, right? And we're focused on the insurance space because this was a purpose-built product for the insurance industry. In fact, it's the only QA solution that is purpose-built for the insurance industry that at least we are aware of.
Earlier in our conversation, you mentioned that also InsurTech is could be a prospect for you, right? A customer for EmTech.
Yes.
And and I asked myself, okay, why as a startup, as an InsurTech, I need an external QA? Because
Well, you know what? It's for the very same reasons that a lot of carriers
okay.
choose the solution is because they're very much focused on product development and getting product to market fast. And startups typically don't have, vast amounts of people and
Mm-hmm.
funds to do things, and they will focus their efforts on the product development side. And then, of course, the QA sort of comes in last. And they look at us and say, great, you can democratize the QA and you can automate the process so much that even with a small QA organization, I can get more done with less people than I could in a manual process. And that's a big key that carriers and InsurTech see from the benefits from using our product. They don't say, let me have fewer QA people. They understand that with the QA people that they have, and then they're the business analysts and the product development folks that use the solution as well, you really are expanding the efficiency and creating incredible more production and productive capabilities from that team than you had previously. So you get more done with less.
We are now in 2025. We're recording a couple of days before the end of 2024, but the recording will be online 2025. So, a couple of questions of our future. And what is interesting to hear from you is, first of all, what kind of trends that you see according to what you are dealing day to day with EmTech, and what are the main goals for the new future?
Great question, Evie. And it really also was borne out in the discussions we were having at ITC.
Hmm.
Go back to that. The biggest trend that we are seeing is really kind of in a single word: automation. Automation. And how can we automate the projects, the systems, the solutions, the efficiencies in our organization? So carriers and insurtechs are looking to obviously, as always, get more done with less, but it's speed. It's automation that automation really is the only solution for. You need to bring products to market faster. Imagine you're having a product calendar that says I'm going to have this annuity released in February, this annuity released in May, another one in September. What if I was able to take those annuities and instead of February, make it January, instead of May, make it March, instead of September, make it June? Can you imagine the impact to the bottom line that that would bring to a carrier? Similarly, with InsurTechs, if you had the ability to bring quality product to market that much faster, just imagine the impact to the bottom line for InsurTechs as well. And again, insurtechs that are selling software are clearly looking for stickiness, if you will. They don't like to have to sell to a customer more than once. They want to be able to get the renewals, which means that the customer has to have the confidence in the product and making sure that it is free from material defects that cause other harms and problems throughout their process. So that's the real benefits that we're bringing is faster time to market without those embarrassing day two issues, which ultimately provides stickiness with the agents, the consumers, and if you're an insurtech, with their customers as well.
By the way, how are you dealing with the professional side? Because you're dealing with the QA, see all the tech problems you're solving, but what with the professional side? For example, if it's from the underwriting terms or actuary or claims, etc.
That's a great question, too. And as you might expect, all they're looking for is something that works. If you are in underwriting, you are wanting to make sure that the information you're getting from the EAP, for example, that you need to make that critical underwriting decision is accurate. You don't want to make
Okay,
a false
makes sense.
policy, right? Because then you're really stuck. And why would you make a make a bad policy? Well, because the information you were getting from the EAP was maybe inaccurate. Perhaps it was not the way it was supposed to be. And then you make a policy decision, yes or no, that can end up costing the carrier significant funds.
Hmm.
The same thing holds true for policy admin. Anybody who's working in there, they don't want to have to go back to the agents and explain why something was incorrect on a claim or perhaps an invoice, right? Maybe the customer didn't pay or he paid what he thought was correct, but it was not the right amount.
Mhm.
And now you have to go back and unravel the whole thing. And again, it's just pain and suffering that they don't want to have to go through because it's time and worse, it's brand reputation.
Exactly. I think this is like conclude everything, the brand reputation.
It really is. And you know, people in the C-suite are always looking for predictability, reliability, and they want to, you know, take a look at their NIGO rates and make sure they are as absolutely as small as they possibly can be. You know, and that's really what our product helps deliver. And it's this predictability and reliability that people in all parts of the organization are really concerned with and the ability to do it at scale. So that's why our solution, because of its incredible automation capabilities, allows carriers and insurtechs alike to do this at scale, bring predictability and reliability to the business, and do it at scale.
So, as we need to wrap up, any other insight that you want to share with us for the 2025? If it's about ITC, if it's about EmTech, if it's about insurance or InsurTech, and I am happy in a way that we didn't mention at all the word AI, by the way.
Well, you know, I was actually going to touch on that because we actually will be bringing AI a bit to our product. We've developed some very careful algorithms that allow us to generate and then, so first of all, create and then execute tests
Hmm.
in
Okay,
vast numbers, numbers that people cannot simply accomplish with manual processes or even semi-automatic processes. So, you know, when we do that, we are creating massive amounts of test suites for carriers and insurtechs. And one of the things that we're going to use AI for is the ability to predict and create the models that we develop ourselves initially that move towards the generation and execution of those QA tests. And so we'll incorporate AI, but only from the standpoint of how it will impact the development of the models for the test suites. One other thing that we're very careful about is that we also have something built into the QMT that allows us to do data generation. So we can create automatically test data that is production like. In other words,
okay.
we make sure that it's not using you know, real names and addresses and so on. We create automatically test generate data that's generated for the purposes of the tests. And you can do it in such a way that, even example, if you want to do a test suite for the state of, say, Florida, the software will automatically generate data that is zip code appropriate, city and town and county appropriate. And
Wow,
obviously, you don't want to use John Doe 100,000 times over. So we actually will be able to create you know, male, female, and really any, if you like, types of data that can go into the test data. And it's a very unique feature that we take care of. So again, I'll just leave you with the fact that our product generates and then executes the tests automatically. So what the QA people are then focusing on are the results. And we also attach screenshots to the test reports that will illustrate where there is a defect that we've found in the
nice.
process. So it makes it really easy to go back and find the areas of problem and fix them quickly.
Makes sense. Well, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure to see you again. I'm so glad that I met you at ITC and right now again. And of course, thanks for Neil for do the connection. Um, so thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing you again, Avi, and hopefully it will be in your lovely country.
Thank you very much. You're more than welcome. Thanks.
Cheers.